Welcome to my show, and I am with a guest here. His name is Bill Becker. Bill Becker, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
All right, firstly, I want to appreciate you for giving me the little time and the little opportunity to spread your experience on my I want to appreciate you. Thank you very much for that, sir.
Of course, happy to do it.
All right, firstly, we know that you are a salesperson and you've achieved a lot of things when it comes to sales. Can you tell us more about that aspect, sir?
Sure. So I retired about a year ago. I spent my entire professional career in sales. The first 16 years I did radio advertising sales. So the commercials you heard on radio stations, I sold those. And then after that, I went into IT sales. First was selling computer training to individuals and companies. And then after that, I kind of flipped. So I sold the services that training companies use to do software training. So uh, it was quite the career. I learned a lot of stuff, made a lot of mistakes, but I think I learned a bunch. And it's what brought me here is that I think sales and salespeople are misunderstood. And so I want to evangelize that, hey, this is a great career. Sales and salespeople are often misunderstood. And so in the book, in writing and speeches, I try to do away with the myths and really set the record straight what really goes on in a sale and how salespeople, truly make a living.
All right. I want to ask, what are the ups and downs? What are the challenges you faced during these sales? What are the setback you had, and how have you tried your best to overcome it in your lifetime?
Okay. Well, I have lots of, like most people, had lots of setbacks. The thing with sales is you don't close every sale, but you going in, everyone understands that. Personally, in my life, I went through several, major setbacks, and one was just devastating, which I talk about, in the literally the opening paragraph of my book. But that's why I love sales because it allowed me to rebuild my life. And I think the beauty of sales careers is there's no barrier to get in there. You don't need a degree, so there's no education requirements. You don't need experience. You can even get a job with a company who's not even hiring at the time. I did that several times throughout my career. And so I think, yeah, throughout the world, there's unemployment, but there's also what underemployment. So people who have a job, but they don't make very much money. And sometimes that's worse than unemployment. Because when you don't have a job, at least you have a little bit of hope. It's like, well, if I get a job, everything's going to be okay. But then you get a job, you're working hard, you're working full time, you're killing yourself, and you still can't support yourself and your family. That's what I love about sales because it allows anyone with any type of background to be able to create the future that they want.
All right. It looks like you've written some books when it comes to sales. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. So it's called The Job Nobody Dreams of because no one grows up wanting to be a salesperson. Myself, I wanted to be a veterinarian, take care of dogs and cats, and I just like that was way too much school for me, so I wasn't interested. Next, I wanted to be a radio DJ. I wanted to be the person that played the records on the radio. I found out that they don't make much money unless you're one of those famous ones in Los Angeles and New York. And so I did what I thought was the next best thing. And I went into radio sales. So I still got to be in the radio station every day and hang out and help, make commercials. And so I did that. And then when I went into IT training here in the US after 9/11, I got the contract to retrain people that had been laid off. There were massive layoffs in all kinds of industries here after 9/11.
Mm,
And I started thinking, it's like, well, they don't lay off salespeople. Typically, there's some things going on today where that does happen. And I started thinking, it's like, why don't people think about becoming a salesperson? And it's because no one grows up to being that. They want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a veterinarian, whatever. And sometimes jobs or sales jobs are the jobs of last resort. When I started doing interviews with salespeople, and I have a bunch of interviews in the book, but even back before the book came out, I would interview salespeople, and it's interesting. I'll give a great example. I interviewed two car dealers or car salesmen. The first one was he was under 25, and he was making over $100,000 a year selling cars, and he was just getting it. Went out and, we bought a minivan for our family, and the guy was older, probably in his 40s, and he was almost apologizing for being a car salesman. He goes, "Yeah, I'm just doing this until something better comes along." And that mindset, he didn't last. And here's this 20-year-old just killing it, making a lot of money. So it's just, it's like nobody grows up wanting to be a salesperson. And it's the title just kind of came by itself, the job nobody dreams of.
I want to go to another space whereby let me talk about this area now, in what's going on currently now in
Okay.
Africa, like most especially Nigeria. There is a way the majority of the youth today sell things, sell goods. I want to talk about it. It's like a maybe like like a business WhatsApp platform whereby they sell clothes, they sell things like that. I want to ask, is this something that is the future of sales when it comes to online, trying to just tell family and friends this is what I sell and things like that, or is just something that someone just have to? It's just part of life.
Yeah, it's just part of life. And that's, I talk a lot about that in the book and in speeches. Sales is just having a conversation. You and I are just having a conversation right now. Some of the myths, the untruths about sales is it's not, you don't have to high pressure somebody. You don't try to trick someone into buying something they don't want. That and you talk about today, and you mentioned online.
Yes.
Today, most people in professional selling, and when I talk about professional selling, the vast majority is business to business, right?
Yeah.
You sell for a company, you're selling to another company, but it's just still two people talking, right? Most people are going to do research online before they talk to a salesperson, which is good, because then when someone agrees to meet with you, and in today's day and age, the majority of it is virtual, online, just like we're talking online. My last job, I had clients all over the world, and it amazes me that even like here, that between Oklahoma and Nigeria, we're having a conversation, and there's not really any delay. But if someone agrees to meet with you, it means they're interested. You didn't trick them into getting an appointment. I'm going to give you 30 minutes or 6 minutes. They actually have an interest in what you're selling. Now, it doesn't always work out. They're just like, well, you know what? Yeah, I'm interested, but it just, the money doesn't work. Or, your product just doesn't fit my exact needs. But that's one of the cool things is you don't want someone to meet with you if they're not interested. If someone meets with you just because they're trying to be nice, they're wasting their time, and more importantly, they're wasting my time.
Okay, I want to go to the area whereby I want to talk about, let me talk about exchange rates. Maybe like dollar to another exchange, like people that are in other countries. And when someone is into sales, what is the best way to see? Maybe it's skyrocket. You use skyrocket when it comes to exchange rates. Maybe like, let me just use our currency, like naira to dollar now, just skyrocket unexpectedly. How can a salesperson adapt to something like that?
One of the things I always said that was one of my superpowers is say, I don't know. And I don't know to your question.
Okay.
My belief is that a salesperson wouldn't have to worry about that because their company is going to deal with that. So I mentioned that my company, which was based in the US, but we had clients all over the world. We did a lot of stuff in Europe. We had clients in Africa, Australia, and everything we did, companies had to pay us in US dollars. So I'm fairly certain that that wherever the company is based, regardless of where their customers are, they're going to pay in that currency. But the great thing is the individual salespeople don't need to worry about that.
Okay. Um, Due to the improvement now in artificial intelligence, do you think it will shake up sales or it will even make it more better?
That's the big question right now. I will tell you this: AI will not replace salespeople.
No.
That because AI, you think about it, where is it learning? It's learning from previous knowledge. And so a good salesperson, here's a great example. Sometimes people say, well, everyone's just going to, they're going to do their research online. They want to buy online. They don't want to talk to a salesperson. That's not true.
Mm.
A good salesperson becomes even more valuable because you do that research online. Now you want to talk to a salesperson with the company you want to buy their product or service, right? And especially if it's a complex product. If you're buying a TV, you're probably not going to talk to a salesperson. But if you're buying any type of software services or manufacturing products, you need a salesperson to help give advice on how to come on board. I had a motto that throughout my career, I didn't sell anything. I figured stuff out. Meaning, I never convinced anyone they needed our IT services. I already found someone who was in the market and then showed them why I was the best way to go over, any possible competition. And you think about it, and here's something really important to understand about sales, especially when we're talking about professional sales. People really aren't buying your product or your service or the features or the benefit. They're buying peace of mind. Peace of mind means they didn't make a mistake. And again, you think about in the context of business to business sales. If I buy the wrong TV or I buy the wrong lawnmower, no big deal. You're out a few $100s and either keep it or, you go spend some more money. If you make the wrong purchase for your business, that could cost you your job or it could cost you a promotion. So people are afraid of making purchasing mistakes. That's where salespeople can come in and give them that, that all important peace of mind. It's like, yes, it's not my $1 million that I'm spending, it's the company's. But this salesperson's making me feel good that I'm making the right decision. And here's something else that's very important. That, yes, salespeople can talk about features and benefits and all that, and how to use that product or service. You know what's even more valuable? What not to do. People, and again, it goes back to that peace of mind. People want to make sure they don't make any mistakes. And sometimes, and it's when I sold computer training, my instructors, the people who taught those classes, a lot of it was reading out of a Microsoft book, right? But they also did consulting on the side. And that knowledge that they got was very valuable. And the students in class would sit up and listen because they learned most of their consulting was fixing other people's mistakes. So like in SharePoint, they can talk about how to install SharePoint and all this. But they saw so many mistakes with SharePoint, they shared that information and that becomes super valuable. So a salesperson, a good salesperson becomes a trusted, resource for that company. You're not going to sell me something and I'm not going to see it again. No, you keep going, you have conversations. I had clients that became dear friends of mine.
Um, I want to ask, as a salesperson, like, what is the step someone have to say, okay, I want to be a salesperson? What are the steps the person need to first take before saying he or she wants to even go into sales?
Great question. So the first thing is think about what you like. You don't have to love what you're selling. I mean, I kind of use that myself as an example. I had an amazing career selling IT services, but I'm not I'm not a nerd. I don't think about computers or outside of work. I love being on the cutting edge, but it helps. It obviously helps if you really love what you're selling. So if you love cars, maybe you're going to sell cars or aftermarket things. If you're into building things, maybe you're selling 3D printers. But just kind of do a self-analysis. It's just like, what are my hobbies? What are the things I'm interested in? What are things I read about, on a consistent basis? And then you look at, what are some companies out there that are really, strong companies in that field. And the beauty of this, you can do all this research online for free. They talk about in the book, and your listener is going to get a free copy of the book. But it just, yeah, of course. There's different ways to do research, and then you found a couple, maybe found 2-3 companies you're interested in. Then you can go deeper into the research and see what is it like to work there. You check out their LinkedIn page. You look at their social media. You can also interview a salesperson. I talk about that. That's a big thing to learn about that. Interviewing salespeople is a wonderful tool. Not only do you learn about a company, you learn about an industry, but also you're creating this wonderful network of contacts. So if I interview a salesperson for company A and I don't end up working for them, but I still have a relationship with them, and a year from now, maybe I can reach out and get some help from them, or they reach out to me and ask for my help. It's just a great way of building professional relationships. So then you found the company you want to work for. And this is the beauty I mentioned earlier. You can get a job even if a company isn't hiring. But the process is pretty much the same. You have no sales experience. So how are you going to get this job? Well, you're not going to apply online. You're not going to talk to anyone from HR. Why? Because you don't have sales experience. Why would they hire you? What you need to do is find someone. HR and recruiters, all they can do is say is no. Nope, we're not interested. You need to find someone who can say yes. And I did this several times throughout my career, and I detail it in the book. Is, again, you're doing research. Find out who's the head of sales, who's VP of sales, who's sales managers. And then you can reach out to them and say, hey, I have some important information that I feel is going to have a direct impact on your business over the next couple of years. That's it. You'd like to set up a meeting. You can do it in person, or even better, everything's virtual. Just say, hey, I got 10 minutes. I'd like 10 minutes of your time to share. Most people that are in charge of sales are going to go, what's this all about? But what if this person's right? I need to spend 10 minutes and listen to what this person's saying. And then this is the secret sauce. And I talk about how to prepare for this speech. You go, Mr. Business, Mr. Sales Manager, this is what's going on in my life. I got through high school and I did these odd jobs. I'm just not making much money. I'm killing myself, and I'm just not making ends meet. I figured out to have the future I want, to make the kind of money I want, is by selling your stuff. That's very powerful. You just need one person to sit there and go, holy moly, I just won the lottery. Because this person is motivated. right? What they don't know about the product or service, you can teach them. When I started out, I didn't know anything about IT services. Obviously knew more when I retired, but I learned along the way. And then when I got asked a question I didn't know, one of two things happened. I either said, I don't know, but I'll get you the answer before the end of the day. And I got praised for that all the time, how quickly I responded. And I'll talk about more of that in a minute. The other thing too is you get asked a question you don't know, is if you think you're going to get asked in a meeting, if you're IT services, you bring a sales engineer to the meeting. That's what they're there for, is to answer customer questions. Again, what is all this? This is just having a conversation. And I mentioned about, responding quickly. I talk about this a lot. Every single week of my career, I got praised for how quickly I responded to someone's question. I created a separate email folder to save all these. They're kind of like trophies, right? It says, thank you so much for getting back to us so quickly. And it's like, wait a minute. I thought that was my job. But the reality is, a lot of salespeople don't do that. And so it was much easier for me to shine because I did. And that's nothing, right? That's so stupid. Anyone can do that. And it's common courtesy anyway. Reply quickly. At the very worst, at the end of the day, go, hey, I'm still waiting on an answer. I'll get back to you in the morning. It's just people don't want to feel like they're being ignored. And it goes back to having that peace of mind. If I buy this thing from Bill, is he going to be there for me afterwards? Well, he responds quickly every single time I ask him something. I feel pretty good that he will.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I want to ask, as a salesperson, now a person is a salesperson, how can a person identify his or her target audience? Like, how can he know where he or she could make an advertisement? Like, what are the ideas from your experience? You can say that, okay, this is what the person can do to know these are the people that want what I have.
Okay. I think that goes back to research.
Yeah.
That going back to when figure out what am I going to sell, that when you're doing your research and say you're going to sell 3D printers, simple web search is how much money do salespeople who sell 3D printers make? There's also websites that give really good background on what it's like to work at a company. How much does the average salesperson make? One probably the single best website. It's called repview.com. So R-E-P as in Paul, V as in Victor, U-E.com, repview.com. They have profiles of thousands of companies and what it's like to work there. What does the average salesperson make? That would be one of the first stops, after you do your initial just web searches. And then it gives you an idea of what they make. And obviously there's a wide range, but that's the beauty of sales. That's why I went into sales, is you can control your own destiny, right? If you're an accountant, if you're, a middle manager, you have a salary and, you feel good about that. But with sales, one of the beautiful things, and again, most professional sales come with a base salary. You talk about that in the book. There's kind of three different ways, and there's variation, but the three main different ways to make money is, number one, just straight salary. Maybe you get some, quarterly bonuses or whatever. You feel good, you're locked in, but that's not how you make a lot of money. The second one is straight commission. It's the exact opposite. Car salesmen are usually like this, that you're going to make a lot more for each sale, but if you don't sell anything, you're not going to get paid that month. The best of both worlds is what happens in true professional selling. It's where you get a base salary and then you get a little bit of commission for each sale. And that's every single company has, different variations of that. But all that information is pretty easily attainable just by doing some research. And again, start with the industry, then focus on some companies, and then go check out, what people at those companies make.
I want to say that what is the tech, like what technology do you see that is contributing to sales today? What type of huge technology can we say? And how have they been relating, as in contributing to the client today?
Well, we're here on a Zoom meeting, right? So
Yes,
virtual
sir.
meetings is the big thing. It's interesting. And the beauty of that is you can practice that. Um, Zoom, you can get a free Zoom account, anyone, and you can have free meetings up to 40 minutes. And my recommendation, if you're just getting started, is do that. And then set up some family, set up some short meetings with family and friends. Just you need to get practice on logging in and how to mute and how to share your screen. That's a big deal. Something that's relatively new, that's on those lines of technology, is digital sales rooms. I wish I had known about these when I was working. So, kind of the workflow that when you're working with a company, and especially if it's a complex sale that's going to take several weeks, several months, you have all these emails going back and forth, right? And then digital sales rooms keeps that all in one location. So anyone from the prospect, anyone from the sales team can go in and see all the communication, see all the notes, see all the documents that have been shared back and forth. That's just going to explode. The other thing I think of is ways to do demos. So again, software sales is a big thing, but there's other industries. There's ways to do demos where you don't actually have to be with the client. That's not ideal, but say that I'm meeting with you and I'm demoing my software, and then you have to go share that with someone else. We can record the meeting, and then you can share that recording, which is fine. Or there's ways to automate that demo where people can go in and do the demo themselves. And on the back end, the salespeople can see what they did during that demo. So technology is not going to replace salespeople, but there's some really cool things out there that's only going to help them.
All right. Lastly, if there's any advice you can give to anyone when it comes to these sales and from the experience you have gotten throughout your lifetime, what can it be, sir?
Just embrace it. If you're looking for a way to control your own life, your own destiny, your own future, sales is just it's the most equitable job I think there is out there, because there is truly no barriers to entry. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have previous experience. A company doesn't need to be hiring for you to get hired. One other thing is you can go out and create your own sales job and sell it to the company of your choice. I did that a couple times in my career. There's a whole chapter in the book, and just realize is it's just having a conversation. You're not trying to high pressure anybody. You're having a conversation with people who've already decided, like, yeah, I'm in the market for this product or service, and realizing you're not going to close every sale. In baseball here in the U.S., you have people making $40 million a year. They only get 3 hits out of 10 at bats. And so in some respects, sales is a numbers game, but I love it. One final thing, sales is the only job you can make more money than your boss. Sales managers usually are on a salary with some bonuses. Almost every major company that outside of stock grants, salespeople are the highest paid people in the company, more than the sales manager, more than the VP of sales. And you only have to worry about yourself. I never wanted to be a sales manager. Why? If I'm a sales manager, my future, my destiny is controlled by the 6 or 12 people I'm managing. It's yeah, it was a no brainer for me. Just the final thing I would wrap this up is that I love sales because you're in control of your own destiny, and regardless of the product or industry, there's opportunities there for people.
All right, thank you very much. There is one last question I always ask.
Sure. Okay.
If there is anything that you would have loved to inherit from the forefathers, like the ancestors, what do you think it would have been?
Hmm. Can you ask me that one more time? I want to make sure I
Or,
get you a good answer.
all right, sir. I said, if there is anything that you would love to inherit from your forefather, like from the ancestors, from people who has passed on this earth, like what would that thing be that you would have loved to, inherit, take from them, something like that?
I just think that it's all a learning experience, and you'll make mistakes. Everyone does. Customers make mistakes, but you things will happen that you would never have thought of. I mentioned in the book about this guy. He was a family friend. He sold clothes. He sold men's clothing. And one of his customers was a guy who worked at an oil and gas company. He was so impressed with him, he hired him. And that guy got to retire early. So even that you start on this journey, you're going to sell this particular product or service, it may very well lead you to something else. Someone, a customer is going to be so impressed with you, they want to hire you away. Or someone hears you, sees a post that you did on LinkedIn. And so it's kind of magical because you don't know where the journey is going to end. You just know that in the end, if you can sell, if you can have conversations, the future is so bright. And I can't think of another career that offers that.
All right. I want to especially thank you, Bill Becker, for this little time and opportunity you gave to me. Thank you so much. I
Thank you
want
for
to say,
having me.
all right, so have a wonderful day, sir. Thank you.